Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Mark.
Hey, I'm here with Dean Cameron, and we have a special edition of Recovery in Aviation this morning, and we're focusing on growth in manufacturing. Dean, it's pretty exciting this morning. We're going to have a great discussion and conversation with 4 people this morning.
I'm very excited. They're a group, very awesome group of companies, and so they have a lot to share with us.
Yeah. Hey, just so you know, Dean Cameron is with Northwest Aerospace News, and Dean was part of our virtual summit that we did. And Dean has a magazine, both digital and print, that he does, and he has relationships. His circulation is over 8,000, and he has relationships with all these manufacturers. And what's happened is Dean has arranged for 4 of those to have a conversation with us this morning, and it's going to be a great discussion. Dean, I want to thank you for arranging that this morning.
Oh, hey, my pleasure, Mark.
Hey, great. Well, let's just jump right in. Our first guest that we have this morning is Bryan Jacobs with CG Tech, and we're going to bring him in here and have a conversation. Good morning, Bryan.
Hey, good morning.
Morning, Bryan.
Great to have you on with us. Hey, Bryan, tell us who you are and what you do, and what is CG Tech?
Sure, I'm Bryan from CG Tech. CG Tech is a developer of Vericut software. Vericut provides basically a virtual reality environment for CNC machining. So we're simulating from the same G code that's going to drive the physical machine to both simulate and optimize the CNC machining process.
Hey, that's really interesting. You know, we hear the word digital twin being used in simulations and things like that being thrown around. Can you just tell us, just really briefly as we jump into this, Bryan, is it what business problem are you really solving, you know, by the simulation in the digital twin situation?
Well, by having a digital twin, you have a virtual environment to ensure that you're not going to crash a CNC machine tool. That's probably first and foremost. Nobody wants to crash a machine. You also want to eliminate scrap parts, and an additional benefit that people use to justify the purchase is reducing the amount of prove-out time that people spend on new test parts.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, could you just take a second and just kind of tell us how simulation fits into the overall process? We got a little slide here, and I thought maybe you could just, you know, address that slide and just say how simulation would fit in the process of doing the manufacturing and machining.
Yeah, absolutely. So I apologize for all the acronyms that are on the slide here. In the interest of time, I'm going to have to blast through it pretty quickly, but I just want to show where Vericut kind of fits into the manufacturing process chain. So typically, you've got a CAD design model. That's where somebody designs the part. It then goes into a CAM system. That's where somebody says, this is how we're going to actually make that part. It goes through something called a post-processor, which converts it into a language that a CNC machine can read. And then it goes out to the shop floor, and it goes through something called a prove-out. And that's where people tend to spend a lot of time trying to make sure that nothing bad is going to happen. If they find something that doesn't look quite right, it has to kind of repeat that whole process. It goes back to the CAM stage, they fix the problem, goes back out to the shop floor, they single step through the lines of code, and they can continue to do that until they're ready to start some production machining. So what having the digital twin does, what incorporating Vericut into the process does, is it eliminates that whole prove-out process. It pushes it upstream so that the person who's designing how the part is going to be made can actually prove out that process and make sure it's good by the time it goes to the shop floor. So in a nutshell, that's how having the digital twin can improve your process.
So, Bryan, is there typically a lot of cycles, you know, going down to the prove out and then coming back again and going down and coming back? Is there typically a lot of cycles that happen there without a simulation kind of a product?
There can be, yeah. In fact, one of the #1 things I hear from shop managers all the time is, you know, why does it take us a week to prove out a part that's going to take 45 minutes to run in production? So what you're seeing on the screen now is actually basically the digital twin. This is Vericut software. So if you've ever used a Microsoft product, you know, you can kind of see the layout that it uses a kind of a tabbed format to walk you through the different features of the software. Obviously, there's not a lot of time to jump through all of this, so I'll just kind of point out what you're seeing on the right-hand side is the actual G code that's going to drive the physical CNC machine, and you'll notice there's some red ticks there. And then down below there is the logger, and that's where it's keeping track of any potential issues that there might be, whether it's a near miss between a holder and a fixture, which is kind of what you're seeing there. And what's important to note here is that everything is linked together. So if you click on an error message in the logger, it takes you right to that specific line of NC code that created that problem, and it even moves the position into that exact place. So it makes it very easy for the person who's designing how this part is going to be made to identify problems early on before it makes it out to the shop floor.
Hey, Bryan, how do people visualize it if they don't have a simulation software like this? What's the regular process?
Well, every CAM system, when you're designing the part, has simulation built in. The big difference there is that it's simulating from its own internal code typically. And so you're not seeing the exact same code that's going to drive the machine. So normally in most shops, what they do is they go out to the actual shop floor and they run the code very, very slowly on the machine to make sure nothing bad is going to happen. And that's that time-consuming process that we were talking about earlier.
So, Bryan, I would imagine that not only from a time-saving standpoint, but the cost of raw materials and a bad code where it slams into a expensive piece of material or a tool or something like that, there's significant savings there as well.
Yeah. I mean, replacing a spindle on an expensive CNC machine can easily be $30,000 or more. And more importantly, it's the downtime. If you have a machine go down and now you're experiencing late deliveries, especially in the aerospace world, that's just not tolerated at all.
Hey, Dean, you work with a lot of manufacturers as part of your business. I mean, do you see a lot of people that can make use of this kind of, tool?
Oh, absolutely. And in my background, I mean, we had between our machine shop and CNC routers, we had 20 machines. And so I see this as a very valuable tool, and crashes happen.
Okay, well, that's not good. Yeah. Well, good. Well, Bryan, it seems like this is a valuable opportunity for a lot of different businesses. I mean, can you tell us something about, like a specific business case or somebody that has used this and what the results have been or how much value it has provided to them? Can you give us a few more details about who would use it and why?
Sure. So for CG Tech, I am the Boeing account manager. So every Boeing location that's cutting metal, it's a requirement that it runs through Vericut before it goes out to the shop floor. But I don't want to give the impression that Vericut is only for big shops. We also have very, very small shops that are using Vericut on a daily basis. And what that enables them to do is to be able, like I said, be able to prove out the process before it goes to the shop floor. So, an example that we recently did a customer testimonial with, there's a shop in Newburgh, Oregon that called Rapid Machining Solutions. It's small enough that the owner is also the person that's programming the parts. And he's embraced automation. He's got a flexible machining system, an FMS system with a horizontal mill. And I've watched him program jobs that he then sends out to the floor and never even goes out there to prove them out. It goes into the pallet shuttle system and he starts creating production parts. Especially right now with a lot of people working remote, they don't have the physical ability to go out to the shop floor to do a prove out. They're working from home. They're creating these part programs. They're sending them into the shop for the operators to run. Now more than ever, they want to be able to have that simulation to know that what they're sending out to the shop floor is going to be good.
So, go ahead, Dean. Go ahead. Yeah.
I would imagine also, knowing a number of shops run 24/7, so they'll run, a tool or a part that's going to take 2 days to machine. Where there's no operator standing there watching the machine. I mean, to have that level of confidence that that is going to run appropriately without that crash, without the problems, allows them to utilize that automation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it just really seems like having the ability to be able to simulate something makes a really tremendous difference. Hey, listen, when we have broadcasts that we do, we have people that join us from all around the world. I generally have people in North America, South America, Middle East, Europe, everywhere. If you're out there watching this broadcast today, hey, I wanted to encourage you to share this broadcast. And if you have any questions, you can throw the questions to us. We actually have the ability to take live questions, and people can actually engage. I know that with these short sessions that we don't have that much time for questions, but if you do have a question, we do have the opportunity to be able to take some of those questions. Just let us know. Hey, so Paul, I wanted to ask you, or Bryan, I'm sorry, Bryan. Bryan, I wanted to ask you again, tell us then, is that if we looked at the value of doing something like this, have you ever captured the actual financial value? I mean, I know sometimes machine parts can be, thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Have you had anybody that's actually captured financial value or return on investment from something like this?
We have to do that with every sale. If you do a quick Google search for CG Tech and Verica, two things you'll find. One, we're absolutely the best at what we do, and two, we are expensive. So there's going to be a cost justification every single time to make sure that it makes sense, because it either makes sense or it doesn't make sense financially. So, you know, obviously it's hard to predict whether or not you're going to have a machine collision. You can justify it just on that to say, hey, if we don't, this is what we're going to save. But most of the time, people are justifying it based on the amount of time that they're going to reduce prove-outs. Shockingly, a lot of shops don't even keep track of that. It's just a cost of doing business. So it's like, okay, so we spend 10% of our time doing prove-out parts. They don't even factor that in. So once a shop starts calculating that and says, whoa, we're actually spending a couple $100,000 a year just doing prove-outs. If we can just cut that in half, even if we don't eliminate it altogether, but just cut it in half, we're going to save $100,000 a year. And I haven't even gotten into our ability to optimize NC code, which is another capability that we have. There it becomes really easy to justify, because it's like, you know what your machining time is worth. If you can cut it back by 25, 30%, it becomes really easy to do the calculation to say, this is how much we're going to save by implementing this software. And then what we're also seeing with the optimization is that because we are now maintaining a constant chip thickness on the tool life is going up 2 to 3 times. So, you know, you can look at your tooling costs and say, hey, if we can double our tool life, you know, it's very easy to start slapping numbers onto these things to create the justification and the return on investment. And yeah, we do have a lot of customers that track that.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I don't want people to be turned off. You said this is expensive. You told me before something that it's not expensive. You told me something different. What did you say? You said it isn't cheap, but it's...
I don't actually remember what I said. Sorry.
You said it's priceless. You said Verica isn't cheap. It's priceless, is what you told me. Okay. And so
that was actually a quote from a customer. Yeah.
Oh, was it? All right. Okay. Yeah. Well, it was a quote from a customer. That's right. You told me that. And so, you know, from a customer's perspective, it isn't something that's expensive. It's priceless, because it really avoids a tremendous amount of cost, is what you've told us in the past, right?
Right, and that was a customer quote. And another one of my absolute favorite customer quotes is that, you know, Verica helps me sleep at night. Because how do you put a value on that? How do you put a value on a reduction in stress?
Fantastic. Hey, listen, you know, it's not possible to even scratch the surface, you know, in 15 minutes on something like this. And so what we want to do is we want to give people an opportunity to be able to reach out. If somebody wants to, reach out to you, what should they do?
Yeah, so if somebody wants to learn more about how a digital twin can improve their manufacturing process, they can simply contact me directly, and I'd be happy to show them what our software can do for them.
Yeah, Bryan Jacobs at CG Tech, and you're also on LinkedIn?
Yes, absolutely, of course.
Yep, fantastic. All right, hey, listen, thanks so much. It was really very interesting, and I thought it was really a great, small snippet or look into your world. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Okay,
thanks a lot, Bryan.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Dean, I think the concept of digital twins is really pretty powerful. I mean, simulations, it really makes a big difference out there, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, yes. And if it wasn't important, it has been important, you know, as long as CG Tech has been involved. But I mean, going forward, the need for companies to be as efficient as possible is absolutely paramount. And this is a great tool for anybody that runs CNC equipment.
Well, fantastic. Well, listen, we're going to keep moving here because we have 3 more interviews to go. So we're going to wrap this one up. Let's go to the next one. So, Dean, we're back already. And now we're going to bring on Molly Bridger from Simone Bolteron. Hello, Molly. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Molly.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great. Really great to have you on board. Hey, who is Simone Bolteron, and what do you do, Molly?
Sure. So if you've sat in an airplane seat, chances are very likely that you've actually come into contact with Bolteron materials. So your tray table, your window shade, the seat back in front of you, even the lavatory seat. These are all parts that are made out of materials that we make, which are thermoplastic, lightweight, fire-resistant materials from Simone Bolteron.
Very good. Very good. Hey, so we're going to talk a little bit more about sort of the different business problems that you're solving and some customers and some business cases and things like that. But if I could just, summarize that up just for a minute, is that you are providing materials, right? You're providing thermoformed materials you're not producing the parts, right? Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, we make materials with 3 methods: through extrusion, press lamination, and calendaring in our facility in Ohio. And in some cases, they're used for 2-dimensional parts, but in most cases, they're end up sent somewhere to be thermoformed into a finished part for a specific application.
Okay, really interesting. Hey, listen, I understand that you have a new product that's come out, something which is really relevant to what's happening in the world today. Can you tell us a little bit about this new product and really what it is that you're doing? What problem are you solving with that new product?
Sure. So this new product you're talking about is our SimoGuard technology, which is an antimicrobial product solution that we've developed in response to this need in this problem that we're trying to solve to help airlines get passengers feeling safe to fly again. So in the start of the COVID crisis, we knew that airlines were going to be increasing the frequency that they would be disinfecting and cleaning materials. So that's in using harsher and more stringent cleaning products, but also using new methods like UVC disinfection, which you see here from a collaborative partner of ours, Germfalcon, UVC cleaning manufacturing company. So we had to take a look at our existing kind of leading product, 9815N or 9815E, and think of ways to kind of reformulate that product to make sure it has the best chemical resistance it can, so that there's no risk of any cleaning product causing any potential degradation of the material or affecting the appearance of the material, and then also evaluate how that product is going to withstand these new methods of disinfection, like this UVC disinfection. So through kind of our product development process, we've tested just about every aviation cleaner that's being used out in the market today, as well as the UVC cleaning process, and see that this new product, which we've launched as a new formulation, 9815N, has great performance results as a result in those categories for cleanability.
So Molly, hey, I wanted to ask you a question. So just let me ask this. Let me understand, make sure I understand, is that the product itself isn't antibacterial, but it withstands UV and chemicals. Is that, or do I misunderstand that? Can you help me understand?
This is great question, Mark. So this is the next step in the development of the 9815N product. So the next step, which we're kind of launching in this week and most recently, is the SimoGuard antimicrobial technology, which can be applied to this new 9815N product. So Voltron, has always had the capability to apply an antimicrobial, whether it's an additive or a coating technology, to the material. But historically, it's varied depending on what additive was going to be used, what the application was. In some cases, it's cost prohibitive for the end customer. So not a lot of saturation in the antimicrobial product sense. But in the height of the COVID crisis, we kind of made a mission as a company to innovate in the antimicrobial sense, to be able to optimize our efficiency in using an EPA-registered antimicrobial additive in the material. And through that way, being able to offer it, in our material at no additional cost. So no cost prohibitive restrictions there for airlines to not have to make the decision between providing, that added built-in hygiene protection with being kind of mindful of the cost restrictions.
So Molly, one thing that my background, so I know your material well. But one thing that I can see coming is that there's a lot of older aircraft that have been parked, and there's a lot of aircraft that have not had or do not have the capabilities today that your new material brings to the market. Has there been any research on the aftermarket business? That I think airlines may be taking a look at putting new tray tables in and putting new seat backs into already existing aircraft. I would imagine that's a pretty significant target.
Absolutely, that's a great point, and absolutely, there's lots of research and discussions about how we can provide solutions to solve that problem. Aftermarket and being able to apply different technology capabilities like that we have, like coatings, or kind of working with some of our partners who do that kind of aftermarket or retrofit work to replace maybe the high passenger contact parts with something that provides more built-in protection, or long-term performance when exposed to some of these really strict cleaners or UVC disinfection.
Well, good. Well, hey, Molly, I understand that you have several different products. That's not just your only product line. I think we have a picture of a few other things which you have. What are they?
Sure. So in this picture, showing the largest picture to the right, showing our transparent material, which is Simoglass. And Simoglass is a great success story for Simona Boltron over the past 6 months or so. So we responded, in the height of COVID, there was a really increased capacity and demand for translucent materials for COVID barriers, sneeze guards. You see them in your grocery stores, at the bank, they're popping up in schools and office buildings. And Boltron has the capability to produce this transparent material. We sell it into aerospace. There's some really beautiful, decorative, transparent privacy dividers on some beautiful airline programs. But we really stepped up to the plate to investigate a way to make it very cost effective, and in listening to the market where they need these barriers, what size, what thickness, what chemical resistance requirement and building code requirement is needed. So we've produced a lot of Simoglass sheet for applications, primarily non-aerospace actually, but for schools, like I mentioned, medical facilities, government facilities, and retail spaces. That's the Simoglass product.
Now, we've seen a tremendous increase, of course, in those kind of products out there in the marketplace today. Has manufacturing been able to keep up with the demand, for that kind of a product out there today?
That's a good question. Yeah, really, we've seen a slowing in the demand now that there's so much flooded capacity. There's a lot of clear product out there in the market space, but we do see that as most workplaces and companies are opening, learning what they need to do to make their facilities safe to open again, there still is a long-term market for it. So the ability to kind of respond to that crisis that had a big boom at the start and has slowed down slightly, has still opened up a market segment for us that we see sustained for the years to come.
Well, thanks for responding so quickly out there to the demand in the market. That was really an important thing out there.
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, Molly, I also understand that your company is trying to become more of a digital company and make it easier to transact business with you. Well, what are you doing in those spaces?
Yeah, this is something that's very exciting for us. So one of the great capabilities that Boltron has is our ability to customize the sheet with various decorative possibilities, from pearlescence, metallics, decorative printing, soft touch effects, and so forth, but primarily through texture. We have a library of more kind of standard textures and a more wide capability of developing new textures for our materials. So obviously that's a great thing to demonstrate with physical samples. Each year we come out with a new design sample book, but this year we're all living in our home offices and not being able to make designer calls or sales calls. So the ability to show off those materials on a digital platform was a huge priority for us to help kind of these designers, the OEMs, make decisions about material design and aesthetics quickly online and see how that will look quickly without having to wait for a sample to come in the mail or wait for one of our sales team members to come and give a presentation. So we've done this in various ways. One is with a new app that has the entire material collection, where a designer can actually upload their own 3D model and apply any one of our textures in any color, pearlescent or metallic effect, and you could see it live, and it's really easy and interesting to use. And we've also optimized our entire texture library in all some of the most popular 3D rendering programs like KeyShot, Octane, V-Ray. So those resources are available to apply them to the seats of the future that are being concepted right now and are going to be in the air once everyone gets flying again.
Yeah, I know that at the beginning you talked a little bit about products that your thermoform plastic goes into. We got a couple of pictures of different things here, but could you sort of just go back over some of the products that you're actually putting your product into, your materials into?
Sure. Like I mentioned, any part that might be thermoformed within the plane interior. So, and the reason for that is because it's very lightweight. It's very chemical resistant. It's formable in a lot of cases, so it can be made with the least amount of material cost. And then it also meets the FAR 25.3 fire code regulation to be used in these applications in the plane. So that's the tray table, it's the seat back, it's the lavatory components throughout the plane's interior. What you see here are just kind of some samples that we call it our comma sample that we use to show off the thermoformability and the beautiful appearance of the material after it's thermoformed. And in the center, that's actually a digital rendering of a concept of an actual tray table and a business class seat, which features our ability to do prints, wood grains, for example, wood grain textures, and even a soft touch material, which you see sort of in the cell phone and the personal items kind of tray there in the tray table.
Yeah, it's really very interesting. We've got a lot of comments from people during the broadcast here about, just interesting to see the innovations that you guys are doing. So, hey, I wanted to ask is again, in this segment, it's impossible for us to go very deep at all into anything, about what you're doing. And we appreciate you giving us, just a really brief overview of this. Is if somebody wants to, reach out to you, I mean, what's the next step for somebody?
Sure. I'd say if someone's interested in any cost-saving solutions specifically for our antimicrobial material, just to reach out to us, me via email at marketing@boltron.com. And then you can also follow us on various social media platforms. We try to be very active in talking about some of these new innovations, specifically the digital design platforms, and making some new product announcements using those social media platforms. So follow us and reach out to us if you have any questions.
Yeah, great. Molly, I just wanted to say one more time is, I was flying a lot, and, of course, this year, all of us have flown a lot less, but, people don't realize how important all those hard surfaces are in the airplane, both from a durability standpoint and from a maintainability standpoint. And, it really makes a difference when, you're flying in an airplane on a regular basis, that those surfaces are quality. And it's really very interesting to see, that you guys are producing some really great quality surfaces that are aesthetically pleasing, but also have the ability to be able to be maintained and keep us all safe, out there. So I just wanted to tell you again, thanks for, just for providing some great products. And it looks like you guys have a great future, especially in some of the renovation or completions of some of the older aircraft that are out there as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I would even add that it's not just small parts either. I mean, large monitor shrouds and big surrounds, and there's a large part of the commercial aircraft interior that utilizes these materials.
Yeah, excellent. Well, listen, Molly, thanks so much for joining us today, and I look forward to people reaching out and learning more about the products and what you're doing. Thanks very much, Molly.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Dean.
You bet.
Hey, Dean, we all kind of forget about how important all those thermoformed plastic parts are on the airplane. I mean, all the interiors are made up of them everywhere, aren't they?
Well, that was my background. I mean, we thermoformed plastics for commercial aircraft interiors and utilized a lot of Boltron materials. You would be surprised how much of what that footprint is in a commercial aircraft.
Yeah, I believe it. I really believe it. So anyway, we've been through 2 of our interviews so far this morning, and we have 2 more to go. And so we have a couple of other interesting ones coming up, and I'll see you on the next segment. Okay.
Sounds good.
My name is Jason Baldonado, and I'm the general manager of Trilling Machine. We specialize in Swiss, mill turn, and 5-axis milling. So we were using Henning's EsoTrack. The main issue, the reason why I decided to look for other software is I was doing an inventory audit because, again, I didn't trust that our traceability and inventory system was being handled correctly. So then I said, there's got to be something better. I walked into my office and started searching, and then I found ProShop. Our shop floor workers, when I told them that we were switching to a paperless system, and they were a little hesitant, but then when we had Luke, who was our implementation specialist, come out and show them, pretty much the overwhelming statement that they said is finally. So we knew that ProShop had a lot of cool features, but we didn't really understand how interconnected all of those features were and how we could just click on one thing and then it's linked into the customer POs, the material certs, the inspection reports, all those things were all linked together. So before ProShop and our old ERP system, we were about 75% on time. And since using ProShop, we've maintained over 95% on-time delivery since we started over a year ago. Since using ProShop, our spindle utilization has increased from 30 to 40% more than we were with the old ERP system. Our return on investment for ProShop paid for itself in less than a year. Being able to be where we're at now, we would have had to hire
Hey, welcome back, Dean.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great video there, Paul.
Thanks, you guys. Yeah, that was a fun
and
one
welcome,
to make.
Paul. I have Paul Van Metre with ProShop. Paul, welcome. Glad to have you on the interview here today.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dean. Appreciate being here.
Yeah. Hey, Paul, tell us who you are and what ProShop does.
Sure. I'm one of the founders of ProShop ERP. ProShop is a comprehensive ERP, MES, and QMS software that brings aerospace manufacturers like machine shops and job shops huge improvements in cost savings and overall throughput by going paperless and combining all their company data into a single web-based platform.
Fantastic. Hey, Paul, I appreciate you coming on board. And, I know that we strive to put these interviews in front of people that are knowledgeable in the industry, but I also have a lot of people that are out there just trying to learn. And and so one of the things I really like to try to do is I like to try to make sure there aren't too many acronyms that are going on.
Sure.
And I was wondering if you could just quickly explain, when you say ERP, MES, and QMS, what are those three acronyms?
Yeah, sure. So ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. It's sort of the main software that a manufacturing company would use to kind of manage their whole company, orders and schedules and accounting and things of that sort. And then MES stands for Manufacturing Execution Systems. And it's really more focused on the shop floor and executing manufacturing processes so machines can stay running more often and quality can be held at a high level. And then QMS stands for Quality Management Systems. And that is really software that helps manage the quality of the whole company. So a lot of aerospace manufacturers need to be certified to an aerospace standard called AS9100. It's kind of like ISO 9000, which a lot of manufacturing companies strive for, but it's more specific for aerospace. And so ProShop has modules to manage all three of those, which makes us quite unique in the marketplace.
So I guess you found this demand out there in the industry for this ERP software. And so if you could maybe just briefly just tell us, what are the core business problems that attacks? Now, you gave me a slide here, which has a picture of the product over there, but I wanted to more focus on sort of the items which you have down the left. You just talked about some of them, but what are the core business problems really that ProShop is attacking through this?
Yeah, well, we did identify a lot of need, and we did that when we ran our own machine shop ourselves. So ProShop was designed and built in a company that we ran for about 17 years. And so we just built it out of strictly need, because when we looked out on the market, we could not find any products that we thought, served a complex aerospace manufacturer like us sufficiently enough. So some of the things that we see here on this list, the three that I already mentioned, of managing sort of all the data, manufacturing, especially aerospace manufacturing, is incredibly complex. There's all sorts of customer flow downs and requirements and regulations, and the tolerances are very precise. These parts that shops are making are really challenging. And so having all that data kind of managed all in a single spot in a web-based environment, combining the quality, the manufacturing execution, the business processes, even things like calibration of your instruments and gauges, right? If you're making a machined part and you want to measure it and make sure it's within tolerance, that gauge you're measuring it with has to be calibrated. And so you need software to manage those things. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. And then all those quality metrics need to be reported to customers for audit purposes. And so there's a lot of paperwork and stuff as well. So again, we just built it out of need.
I guess I didn't realize that you had run a shop for how many years was it? You said
17 years.
17 years. So that's really interesting, because I always think that products that come out of someone who has direct hands-on experience are always the best, because basically you've experienced for 17 years the problems you had in being able to manage your environment. So the bottom line is, an ERP system is a system which enables you to be able to manage your own environment, and it comes from your direct experience. That's fantastic. That's really great. Yeah.
Also sounds like ProShop is the death of Excel spreadsheets.
We do replace a lot of Excel spreadsheets, right. A lot of little Access databases. Yep.
Hey, Paul, I have a particular interest in execution, because I believe that in the area of execution, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for, optimization, all right, and cost savings and improvement, both in cycle time and in cost. Can you address a little bit how you're, attacking optimization of execution?
Yeah, for sure. So that is one of the big areas that a lot of other products don't address, and that's honestly why we built ProShop in the first place. So when you go to set up a complex manufacturing process, like a machined part or a sheet metal part or even a thermoformed part, there's lots of things you need to know about how that setup's supposed to happen, special tools you need, special gauges, special settings on the equipment. And most ERP systems don't really think about those things, right? They'll help you put the order in at the beginning, but then it's kind of up to you to manage those processes manually. And so when we were looking for software ourselves, we just couldn't find any. So ProShop has a lot of unique tools to make sure that that everything is prepped, built-in checklists, built-in quality sign-offs, visual work instructions. You can add videos and photos, and that really helps people to execute those jobs and those setups. And then once the jobs are running, monitor the quality with actual quality measurement inspection in process to make sure the parts continue to be good.
So Paul, why would I use a manufacturing execution system instead of like a project plan or something like that? What makes that better than a traditional project plan?
Yeah, well, traditionally a shop that doesn't have a software like this, they will use spreadsheets, they will use PDF files, they will use paper. Most shops are still paper-based, which is crazy to us. And there's problems with that, right? There's first of all, you have to maintain full sort of auditability and traceability. Customers are often sending down new revisions of their drawings and parts. And sometimes if you have a paper version, you have something that's obsolete on the shop floor, and someone could pick it up and do something with the wrong instructions. So having something to manage all of that data in real time, always live. Make sure that tribal knowledge isn't lost. A lot of times, I don't know how many times we hear shops talking about losing their job travelers, right? So when these projects are moving through the facility, they just lose the paperwork, right? And that's something we eliminate by going paperless.
So, right now we all know that we have to find ways to improve cost and improve cycle time, or be able to reduce the amount of labor that it takes to do something. And so I just really feel like, you guys are really onto something there, with the manufacturing execution system, because I think it really provides a tremendous contribution to optimizing of that kind of an environment. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm glad you brought up, Paul, that it's not just for machine shops, that it's any job shop. So if you're making plastic parts or composite parts or metal parts or what have you, that it's a system that can be integrated. If you have a lot of machines and setup and processes, ProShop is a good solution.
Yeah.
And it's not just for job shops, to be honest. Our very first customer, besides our own company, was an OEM manufacturer of aerospace latches and galley components. So they built to inventory, they shipped to Boeing and Airbus and lots of other OEMs.
Great. Hey, listen, we all know that airlines and OEMs and people, vendors and things which provide parts to that process or that assembly have to have a QMS system or a quality management system. Can you tell us a little bit about what ProShop does in helping to provide a QMS system?
Yeah, sure. So what we see on the screen now is a picture of an org chart that's in our company positions, an org chart module. So when a quality auditor or a customer auditor comes to your facility to give you a quality audit to see if they want to add you to their supply chain or keep you on the supply chain, they're looking to make sure that you are running your company according to the requirements of the standard. And that would include very clear instructions on which employees are in which role, that all their training records are up to date. You'll see that some of these names are green and some of them are red. That's highlighting people that don't have enough training for the jobs, for the roles that they're put in. So this page just helps, and all the data behind it just helps companies to organize all their training records, all of their quality documents, all of their procedures and processes, again, in a paperless and web-based environment.
So this isn't just an org chart. This is a system which allows them to be able to manage their quality or it's a quality management system overall then, yeah.
Absolutely. And we even can make it where an employee that does not have enough training isn't allowed to do something in the software. So auditors absolutely love that. When they say, well, how do you know that this person is trained to do their job? Well, we say, well, first of all, you can see if they're red or not. But they also cannot perform this task unless they have sufficient training.
Yeah, I suppose that in a system like this, that you could give me a 5-minute overview, or you could give me a detailed demo in probably 5 days, huh? Is that?
Yeah, we sometimes do 8-hour demos for people all day long.
So what I want to say is that, there's a 15-minute time frame that we have here that we just wanted to introduce you to something. And the reason that I wanted to play that video at the beginning is because customer testimonials say it all. And so, with Trillium Machine Shop, they really, spoke well of you guys. So listen, if somebody wants to follow up with you and get more information, hey, what's next for them?
Sure. Well, certainly go to our website, ProShopERP.com. We have a pretty vast video library, including videos about how ProShop works, lots of customer testimonials, videos on best practices, not just about ProShop, but just about manufacturing in general. And of course, I'd love to connect as well. I'm on LinkedIn. And we'd love to talk with you.
Fantastic. Hey, it looks like you got a really neat system there. And I think that for all the things that people should be looking at in going digital, I think, better managing your own environment, improving cycle time, reducing cost, improving execution, quality management. I mean, I think you guys got a lot to offer out there. So I wanted to say, for those of you that are watching out there today, if you're interested in optimizing your manufacturing environment, reach out to Paul. I think there's something there to talk about. Hey, Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks,
it's been
Paul.
my pleasure.
All right, awesome.
You bet.
Dean, I think there's a lot of opportunities in a system like that, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I was serious when I said the death of spreadsheets. And, I think I managed 15 Excel spreadsheets at a time, many years ago. But it's a very efficient system. I've had some good communication with Paul over the last couple of years, and people really respond well to the ProShop.
Great. Well, that's our third interview for today. We have one more to go. Let's. Hey, Dean, we're back. We have one more interview to go, and I want to bring in and introduce our next guest at this point. And here we have Marcie Simpson with Nycote Laboratories. Hi, Marcie.
Hi, Marcie.
Hi, Dean. How are you guys?
Good.
Great. We are glad to have you on board with us. Tell us who Nycote is and what you do.
Oh, well, I'm president and COO of Nycote Laboratories Corporation. And we at Nycoat manufacture advanced technology coating systems that use proprietary ingredients and formulations that are used by all major aircraft MEOs.
Awesome.
So we have.
You're a manufacturer.
I got to be honest, I have to follow all those 4 great companies, and they made me a little nervous.
No, you don't need to be, because I think this is a great subject we're going to get into talking about here right now. And right, aircraft OEMs, they all have a need for this, as well as a lot of others. But hey, listen, let's take it down to the next level. I want to ask you: what business problems are you solving? So what are you really doing? What are coatings? I mean, just help us understand, what business problems are you solving?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So coatings, the coatings that we manufacture, basically the one word is safety. Our core focus at Nycoat is to make people safe when they travel. The other advantage of our coatings, which are just clear, lightweight products that go over surfaces, it prolongs the life of parts, and it basically protects your valuable assets.
So, Marcie, can you take it down one level further? Because for a guy that's not involved in coatings, give me an example of a part and a coating you would put on it, and why I'm going to put that coating on it.
Well, so basically, Nycoat Laboratories has been around for over 60 years, so we have a lot of applications. Excuse me. Some of the application listed are wire harness assemblies, radomes, light housings, circuit boards. We have fuel containment systems. The list goes on and on.
But you also have a new product, don't you, Marcie, that is antimicrobial and maybe even antibacterial?
Well, thanks for asking that, Dean. We have been investing in some pretty exciting projects. And we're currently working with 2 major aircraft interiors companies in North America and the UK. And what we're doing is they're using our products to bring a new antimicrobial cabin interior product.
Okay, great. And so that would be something that would be applied to, like, what kind of interior surfaces?
Any high touch surfaces Nycoat could be used on. Now, this one case study that I mentioned, where we're working with 2 interiors companies, it's more of a system that it's a proprietary system, and we're working hand in hand with them. And that's how we work at Nycoat. We usually reach out to the OEMs, or lately during the pandemic, they've been coming to us because they understand our products, they know they can rely on them, and they've always been used for antimicrobial systems.
Okay.
So that can be both hard surfaces and soft goods. Am I correct, Marcie?
Yes. Thanks, Dean. Actually, Nycoat is one of the only coatings that is flexible because it combines nylon with a polymer. And that's what really makes us unique.
So can you talk a little bit more about that? So what is the product and what makes it unique? Can you help me understand that just a little bit better? And the reason I'm asking these questions is, I have to be honest with you, is that I'm not specifically in this area that often, and I don't know that I completely understand it. And so I know there's people out there that are watching that don't. And so let's just go into it a little bit. What really is the Nycoat product, and what makes it unique from something else somebody might use?
So again, it's a proprietary formula, and it's proven airworthy because it's been around for so many years. It takes the parts of nylon that are so well known. Everybody understands the way maybe a woman's nylon can bend and take the shape or the form that it's around. So nylon, when you combine it with an epoxy can be any type of coating that you even pick up at the home store center. So if you take those 2 and combine them together like we did 60 years ago, you have a very strong product that basically protects parts from any type of wear and tear or chemicals.
Wow, that's really interesting. So you can just apply it and then it actually protects it both from a wear standpoint or maybe cleaning or,
It does.
all different perspectives. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm starting to get it a little bit better. How is it applied?
It's very easy. So a lot of coatings out there are complex systems, but NiCoat, you just open up a can and you can dip a brush in and start applying it. And what ends up happening is it's a technology that self-levels. So you can even see it. In fact, I would encourage people to visit our YouTube channel. And you can see videos of how we're applying it and how the technology of the NiCoat coatings will self-level. And once it cures, it's pinhole free. So again, it's just creating a very tough barrier around a part that honestly is hard to remove. So it prolongs the life of the parts.
That's really
and any high-touch surfaces.
For the average person that doesn't get involved in those things, and we're users or consumers of products, we don't see that nor understand that that's happening in the background. And so that's really very interesting. What's the overall impact then? Is it extending the life of parts, or what's the benefit of putting coatings like that on?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is prolonging the life of the parts. It's protecting it from, like I said, any type of harsh chemicals. And we are
moving forward, it also brings the antimicrobial aspect as well, and that's going forward with this pandemic. That's going to be very needed.
Oh, I guess we got a graphic here that talks a little bit about that too. There, I guess, right?
So in this graphic, we are talking about how it encapsulates the parts, and it adheres to the different substrates. And so like Dean is mentioning, during the pandemic, we are working with interiors companies. What's interesting about the NiCoat formulas is, even though they've been around so long, we were given new opportunities for applications during this pandemic, because we're actually solving different problems now. So instead of it being something that we see as negative, we're really just trying to find out, hey, what can we do to help the aviation industry and defense industry, and make people safer.
Interesting. So you talked about it encapsulating, and go back to that slide for a second. I want to take a look at that. Yeah, is it talked about it encapsulating and making it basically a hard surface? And I would imagine, it's difficult to adhere to some of the materials that are out there, and so you have an easier time of adhering. And temperature ranges, I guess there's a wide range of operation when we're talking about aircraft and aerospace components with different temperature ranges. But the last one I wanted to ask you about there is it protects things from electrical conduction. How is that a benefit, or what does that actually do? Is it like an insulator or what?
Yes, it is. It's an insulator, but it just depends on what type of surface it is in the application.
Okay.
And so we have a number of OEMs using it throughout the interior, or not the interior, but the body of the aircraft in this application. There's some really great photos of that on our website at nicoat.com.
Great. Hey, how widespread is the product used? Is it used in just the aerospace industry, or is it used all around the world, or what? How broadly used is the product today?
So NiCoat is used throughout the world, and it is used in, our aerospace industry is where we began. Okay. And so we've been contacted by people in other industries. And so we're almost at being forced at this time to create a whole new business. So I just wanted to tell you all that we started a startup called Lloyd Surface Technologies. And we're going to be working with different elements and the knowledge that we've had for 60 years to bring coatings that are smart coatings to all different industries, not just aerospace. So it's really exciting that we're doing that during this time. And we are solving some issues for the pandemic, and just to take this technology, these coatings into the future and into space applications. So we've got a lot of fun things going on right now.
Cool. It really sounds exciting that you're expanding like that. Hey, I was noticing that at the beginning when we looked at your title slide, it said you were the leader in corrosion prevention, and we didn't really even touch on that, or I didn't. Listen, how is corrosion prevention come into using of the coatings today?
Well, basically, it's just because NiCoat is chemical resistant. So any type of Skydrol and kerosene and any type of harsh chemicals that would come into contact with it's incredibly tough. So again, it can be on all types of surfaces and used in various industries. And we're just looking to always collaborate with OEMs and solve the issues that might arise.
And some of those things are super corrosive. That's really interesting that it's tolerant.
Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Well, very good. Well, hey, listen, Marcie, that it's really been very interesting, and I'm sure that there are so many questions that people could have or would want to ask you about these things. Is that if somebody wants to follow up and learn more, you mentioned a couple of ways, but can you just kind of re-hit on that? What's next for somebody? I want more information. Now what?
Oh, great. Yes. Please go to our YouTube channel, and then you can always reach out to us. We talk to people all day long. You can send a message to sales@nicoat.com and also follow us. We need some followers on our LinkedIn page. Okay. Follow us on all social media platforms. And again, just reach out, send us an email and tell us your issue, and we'll be glad to help solve a problem if we can.
Fantastic. That's great. Hey, listen, Marcie, you've really provided some great information here today. And, one of the reasons that, I was excited about Dean bringing different manufacturers on this interview session that we've started is that there's so many areas of the industry that I know nothing about. And it's so interesting to see all the different contributors and people which play part, in the overall aerospace industry. And I don't think about coatings. It's just really interesting.
I know. Mark, most people don't think about coatings. And I was at a space event last year when we were allowed to go to trade shows. And I would walk up to the engineers and just casually begin speaking about how they were going to protect their moving parts or their new technologies. And they just looked at me like they didn't know what I was talking about. But what's important to understand is that when you do have a valuable asset, you really do need to protect it somehow. And that's what we do.
That's great. What a great way to end the segment. Thank you. And so I just want to tell everybody is that reach out to Marcie of NiCoat and start a conversation. I just really think there's some opportunities here to really increase the value of what you're doing in your manufacturing processes and also renovating things that you have out there in your systems and your assemblies today. So reach out to Marcie and let's start a conversation. Marcie, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marcie.
Appreciate it, Dean. Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Thank you. Bye. Hey, Dean, I just really appreciate you bringing these 4 different people, to the conversation today, because honestly, I think there's so many aspects of the aerospace industry out there today that we just don't know about. And I think it's important for us to come out of obscurity and for people to know what other people are doing for us to create synergies and be more successful in the industry.
Mark, since I began Northwest Aerospace News a little over 2 years ago, my background was in commercial aircraft interiors, but getting involved with all of these companies, being able to write their articles and learn about their technology has been an eye-opener. And we're just scratching the surface. I mean, there's so many companies that are bringing new technology and innovation right now they're reacting because of the current market conditions at a rate that's just incredible. And so I look forward to sharing more. I mean, there's some amazing companies out there.
Dean, since we're here, tell us who Northwest Aerospace News is and what you do.
Well, I have a 30-year background in commercial aerospace manufacturing and realized that there really wasn't a platform to be able to share what we did today, the manufacturers, the people that make and sell the parts into the industry. And so that's what Northwest Aerospace News is. We focus our content on the makers, the people that supply the parts to not only commercial, but military, space, UAV, UAS, we want to be able to give them a spotlight because they're such an important part of this industry. And so we publish a print magazine that is distributed to over 5,600 aerospace professionals across the United States. We have 2,700 digital subscribers that get the magazine delivered to them digitally. And then our website has a reader, and we have over 350 people daily spending up to 13 minutes on the site as an average. And so we're extremely excited about the response. Obviously, people are finding interest in these companies, and it excites us, and looking forward to more.
Dean, how do I get a subscription to that digital or to that magazine?
You go to Northwest Aerospace News, all spelled out.com, and in the upper right corner, there's a button that says subscribe free. Just fill out the form and we'll start sending it to you. If it's international, you have to subscribe to the digital version, but there again, just subscribe, and we're happy to send you our content.
Fantastic. Hey, Dean, thanks for bringing the manufacturers that you brought today, and I'm looking forward to doing some more of this in the future, and for us working together as partners in the industry to be able to focus on recovery in aviation. And I titled this segment Growth in Aerospace because one of the things that I'm finding is that there are segments of the industry that are growing significantly while others are struggling. And I think we need to all work together to be able to help one another to be successful as we bring recovery into aviation. Dean, thanks for joining today on this session. I really look forward to having more discussions with you like this in the future.
All right. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye-bye.